Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel, Ticcing Together. As always, the goal of this channel is to provide education about and to raise awareness as to what it's like living with Tourette syndrome. So, today's video is super important, and I am going to narrow down the 10 worst things you should absolutely not say or do to people with Tourette syndrome. People with Tourette syndrome are often very misunderstood, and when people say things or do things that are hurtful or inconsiderate, it makes us feel even more misunderstood. And so I think with your help, by watching this whole video and listening to the 10 things you shouldn't do or say to people with Tourette syndrome, you guys can help make our community a better place. Speaking of, my goal of this channel is to break the stigma surrounding Tourette syndrome. The media has made Tourette syndrome out to be something that it really isn't, and I think that with your help, by clicking that subscribe button on my channel, you guys can start on your journey of self-educating and maybe even being an advocate for our community, because we really need it and Tourette syndrome needs to be talked about more. And by following along on my journey, you guys can definitely help with that, and I would really appreciate it. Alright, let's get into the 10 things. The first thing that you absolutely should not do to someone with Tourette syndrome is imitate or mock their tics. This can be absolutely gut-wrenching for someone with Tourette syndrome to see. It really hurts us because it's like, we can't help our tics, and when you guys imitate them or mock them and be like,
haha, this is so funny,
it's really not funny and it's really inconsiderate, and it is quite often another trigger for people with Tourette syndrome to do even more tics. So if you want to be a nice person and a decent person, just don't mock people's tics. And number 2 is pointing out people's tics. This is another one that's like really hurtful and bizarre that people even think it's okay to do, because when people point out your tics, like,
hey, why aren't you ticking? Or, hey, that's a new tick.
It's kind of like, it defeats the purpose, because our brains, when we think about tics or when we hear the word tick, it's like, we got a tick right now. And so I know it may seem like it has a good intent to ask like, hey, why aren't you ticking? Or hey, that's a new tick. Like it seems like it's okay, but it's really not okay. And it causes people with Tourette syndrome to have even more tics, and it makes us just feel inferior, because ideally you don't really want to acknowledge the tics of someone else and just kind of treat them like normal, because we are normal, just with a few minor setbacks. Number 3 is asking, why don't you swear? This one really irks me, and it again goes along with the stigma that has been presented by the media surrounding Tourette syndrome. The media has made Tourette syndrome out to be this vulgar thing where people only swear or blurt obscenities, and coprolalia is the tic that causes people to do this. I've pretty much talked about this in all of my other videos, but coprolalia only happens with 10 to 15% of people with Tourette syndrome. And asking,
why don't you swear,
is mildly offensive, but it's more just inconsiderate, because why would you even ask that? And of course, it is true that some people with Tourette syndrome do swear, but do you really have to like acknowledge it and ask it? It is a tic, and if you bring that up to someone who perhaps has hidden coprolalia, they might start ticking and oops, you messed up, so don't do that. Number 4 is telling the person with Tourette syndrome to just go for a walk and get some fresh air and it'll really help your tics. No. This one really irks me, and along with other disorders or mental health issues, I know that Tourette syndrome isn't a mental illness, it is a neurological disorder, but either way, mental illness can't be cured by walking outside and getting fresh air. I'm just gonna say that, and come at me if you want it, but Tourette syndrome cannot be cured by going for a walk. And quite frankly, my tics get worse when I'm outside walking, because I'm alone and I'm alone with my thoughts, and my tics get worse when I'm doing that. And like, if you think fresh air is gonna resolve everything, no, it's not gonna heal it. And it's just kind of offensive, and it makes me very mad, honestly, because how can a disorder be cured with fresh air? Come at me, Karen. The next thing that you absolutely should not do or say to someone with Tourette syndrome is,
oh my gosh, I wish I had Tourette syndrome. It's so cute and quirky. I wish that I could swear all the time and get away with it just like you do.
for starters, oh lord, this is gonna get me revved up. Tourette syndrome is not cute and it is not quirky. It is not something you want to have. Honestly, it is awful. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It is brutal. Some nights I'll be up all night ticking, and tics cause pain and discomfort, and like, why would you ever say that that is cute or quirky? I know that with apps like TikTok and new social media things that people are like,
oh my gosh, like, so quirky.
but Tourette syndrome is not quirky. So please do not say that, because it is highly inconsiderate and offensive. And for the saying swears and getting away with it, like, why? Why would you want that? And people with Tourette syndrome often don't get away with swearing because coprolalia isn't that well known, and it's not good. So please stop romanticizing Tourette syndrome, because you don't want to have it. It is brutal, TBH. The next thing you should not do to someone with Tourette syndrome is stare. I would say this goes for anyone, like, you shouldn't be staring at anyone, but people with Tourette syndrome often get stared at for their tics, and it makes us feel really, really degraded and hurt. Like, it's not fun to be stared at for doing things that you can't control. And I know sometimes it's not ill-intended, sometimes people just are curious, and that's okay, but after you've done the initial, like, zone in, you really don't need to continue staring, because it's not something we can control, and it's important to be nice to people. It's the same as like staring at someone in a wheelchair. They have something that is clearly different about them, and you shouldn't really be acknowledging that and pointing it out and like staring at them, because they're just living their normal lives. They're just having a good time. And people with tics also, they can't control it, just like people in a wheelchair can't control being in a wheelchair. And being stared at for something you can't control is really lame, and I don't recommend it. So if you're out there, please stop staring at us, please. The next thing is saying things like,
Oh, like my eye twitches when I get really stressed, so I know exactly what you're going through.
this one, I mean, again, it is not ill-intended. Usually they're just wanting to relate and provide some like support and acknowledge that you're not alone. But an eye twitch is not the same as Tourette syndrome. It is not. And like, people with Tourette syndrome will have body tics, motor tics, vocal tics, mental tics, like, and comorbid disorders. It comes with so many things that is not eye twitching. And I don't mean to be rude. Like, people, it's nice to have people to relate to and try and support us, but it's better if you don't say anything at all. If you're gonna say, I have an eye twitch, because, like, I sound rude, and I'm not trying to be rude, but it's just like, if you don't have Tourette syndrome, you will never truly understand what it's like to have Tourette syndrome. Tics suck. To be brutally honest, they suck. And eye twitching, it sucks too. Not gonna deny that, but it's not the same thing. So please don't compare it to that. Thanks. The next thing is to tell people to just stop ticking, or why can't you stop ticking, or just stop. Asking people to stop ticking is really rude, because people with Tourette syndrome, sometimes they can suppress their tics, and some people are better at it than others, but it's not something that can just magically be halted or stopped. Like, tics happen, and sometimes they have to happen, and sometimes you just can't stop it no matter how hard you try. And having someone saying stop just honestly makes it worse and makes us have to tick more, because again, you're acknowledging the tick, and it's like, why? And it's hurtful, because really we can't stop our tics most of the time, especially during like a tic tac or a really bad tic day. And it's important to acknowledge that and just let us tick and don't mind us, because we're just doing our own thing. And yeah, just don't tell us to stop. It really sucks. Thank you. Number 9 is telling people that it is just in your head. This one irks me so much. Oh my gosh. So this goes for mental illness as well as disorders like Tourette syndrome. It isn't just in your head. Like, it is clearly something that has been diagnosed and is debilitating, and if it was just in your head, you would stop it, or you would be able to control it more, because your brain is a powerful thing. And Tourette syndrome, though it is a neurological disorder, it isn't just in my head. It affects every part of my day, and I mean, it's not nice to say that. So it's not nice to say that about anything, that it's in your head. Like, that just is, it like downgrades the person's issue. It makes us seem like, oh, it's just in your head so you can fix it. No. That's not true, so stop saying that, please. And number 10, the last thing that you should absolutely not say to someone with Tourette syndrome is stuff like, "I've never seen you tic. That means you must not have Tourette syndrome and you're faking it." For starters, why would anyone in their right mind want to fake Tourette syndrome or pretend to have it? Because, like I said, it is really awful. Not gonna sugarcoat it, it is heckin' brutal. And just because you haven't seen me ticking doesn't mean that I don't tick. Like, for example, I'm really good at suppressing my tics, and I have a whole video on that which I'll link up there. But through most of my life, people honestly didn't even know that I dealt with Tourette syndrome because I would just hide my tics when I was in public or with other people, and when I got to my room, I would have tic attacks, and it was just awful. But just because you're not with me 24/7 does not mean that you can say, "Oh, you're faking it," because you don't see what's behind the scenes. And that's hurtful and ignorant and rude. So yeah, please don't say that either. It's not fun, especially since it is so hard to deal with. We don't want to be like not believed for it because, like I said, why would anyone fake it when it's awful to deal with? And just because you've never seen me ticking doesn't mean that I don't have Tourette syndrome. Like I said, people can suppress sometimes. And that is it. Those are the 10 things you absolutely should not do or say to someone with Tourette syndrome. I hope you guys learned something in this video, and I hope genuinely that you guys take these 10 things and apply them to your daily lives when you're dealing with someone with Tourette syndrome, because honestly, it'll make us so happy, and it'll make it easier on us and our whole community because we're so misunderstood. And that's just the simple truth. So it would be great if you guys could apply these 10 things because they're super easy things. Like, I'm not asking you to run marathons or climb mountains. This is just really simple stuff, guys. One more time, I just wanted to reiterate that the goal of my channel is to raise awareness about Tourette syndrome, to provide education, and most importantly, to break the stigma. And with your guys' help by subscribing to my channel, you guys can start on your journey by providing education to yourselves and maybe even advocating for our community because we're very misunderstood. And it'd be really awesome if you guys could learn more through my videos, follow along on my journey, and just take us seriously and know that we are just like you, except we tick like clocks. And it's not always fun, but what can you do? So yeah, please subscribe, and I would love it if you would give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below saying hi, telling me what you want to see in future videos, or letting me know if there's something else that you think I should have added to this list, because if you're out there with Tourette syndrome, I'm sure there's stuff that people have said to you or done to you that you don't like, and it would be great to hear from you that I could maybe add it to another video or something. So let me know. And thanks for watching. Have a great night.